Dear Dhamma friends, we have come to the Dhamma sermon of this Kalalgoda English medium retreat. May you give your consent by saying sadhu sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Chattaro me bhikkave ahara bhutanang va sattanang titiya sambhavese nang va anuggahaya katame chattaro kabalinkaro aharo olariko va sukhumo va passo dutiyo mano sancetana tatiya viññānaṁ catutthaṁ ti. Dear Dhamma friends, typically in our retreats we are using certain aspects to develop our meditation. Basically Buddha says there are 5 ways that we can support our practice. First, we can support with our morality. When one establishes oneself in morality, precepts, voluntarily basically using our behavior in an appropriate manner without harming ourselves, without harming others. So then we are restraining ourselves. So what we call as sila anuggahita, where we, through the virtues, through the moral aspects, we are supporting our practice. That is necessary, otherwise what we practice will simply fade away. It will be stolen by the defilements. So basically, therefore, we need certain amount of restrainment, kind of a culture, kind of a behavior, good behavior. So that is meant in the sila anuggahita. So we need to support through that. Again, we need to have fair amount of understanding of the Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha, and we need to listen to Dhamma sermons. We need to read books. That way, various ways, we need to have some understanding about the Dhamma, about the teaching of the Buddha, what we call as the Sutta anuggahita. So that is also a necessary part. Again, time to time, we need to discuss how we are thriving in Dhamma, what are the obstacles we meet on the way in our spiritual journey. So these things we need to discuss. And again, if there are certain philosophical aspects in our way of thinking, so we can even discuss those things with others, and we can come to some understanding. So that we call as sakacca anuggahita, where we are having some sessions so that we can remove doubts. Then fourthly, we can support our practice through tranquility meditation. Time to time we purposely maintain our attention on a particular object and establish mindfulness, maintain concentration, and we are trying to develop fair amount of concentration, what we call as samatha anuggahita. And based on that, we should not stop at that level. Based on that, we have to use that, develop concentration, develop mindfulness to see the reality, to see the phenomena which is available either in the body, either in the mind, to see how they are behaving, how they are appearing and disappearing. So this way we can see, we can understand how these phenomena are really behaving, how they are really appearing and disappearing. What is the real nature of them? Is it really according to what we think, or is it really behaving on their own way? Do we have any kind of a demand or kind of a control? So all these things are related with the vipassana anuggahita, where we see things in a different angle, in a different way. So this is really the wisdom aspect. So that is the last way of supporting. So Buddha says if one support one's practice in this way, in these 5 ways, so he is having a fair chance of achieving the goal. So therefore, time to time, we need to think, is there any lacking of any of these 5 supports? Am I need to develop in a particular aspect? Am I kind of confident enough in all these? Or is it necessary to develop in a particular side? So likewise, we need to have kind of a fair assessment about our practice, and accordingly we have to time give the necessary support. So in that support, the Dhamma sermons comes under the Suttamaya Anuggahita, where we listen to the teaching, listen to the Dhamma sermons, listen to various suttas of the Buddha, so that we get the kind of a base, kind of a understanding, kind of theoretical knowledge about the teaching. So in this Kalalgoda retreat, we are taking one particular sutta called Maha Tanhasankhaya Sutta, which comes in Majjhima Nikaya, which is a fairly comprehensive sutta, and it deals with very deep aspects of the Buddha's teaching. So I actually, only myself, Bhante Dhammajiva wants to take this subject as the theme of the retreat, because in the future, in the very soon, we hope to publish a book on the same topic, Maha Tanhasankhaya Sutta. At the moment, we are proofreading that book, so you will be getting that book soon. And Bhante Dhammajiva himself has conducted a retreat on that same subject in USA. So we are now doing the same thing in Kalalgoda. And we are trying to see why Buddha is so critical about certain matters. So in this particular sutta is based on a kind of a doubt which is developed in a particular monk's mind. The monk's name is called Sati. So he was thinking that the consciousness, the vijnana, is kind of eternal, kind of everlasting, and it is passing from one life to the other life. So probably you can understand the consciousness is one of the most subtle aspects of the Buddha's teaching, and in a way very difficult to understand. Because if we say body, it is physical and we all can see it and we all have it, and it is material and we all can easily understand. But on the other hand, when it comes to the feelings, that's also not that difficult, because we all have happy feelings, we all have unhappy feelings, neutral feelings, so we can understand that also. Then it comes to the perceptions. Time to time we have different types of perceptions. So that's also in a way we can understand. On the other hand, we can understand, okay, sometime I have some loving kindness feelings, sometimes I have some angry feelings, sometimes faithful feelings. So likewise, the various kind of mental states are there. So that mental formations also in a way it will easy to understand. But when it comes to the consciousness, it's another aspect we need to see. So therefore, this consciousness is something that certain other believers think, which is eternal, which is available, which is going on and on. They are able to see that body is changing and it is passing away in this life and it is not continuing. But on the other hand, the consciousness, they think that is going on forever. So therefore, this particular monk called Sati also got that wrong view. So the other monks tried to convince him that it is kind of a wrong view, it is not what Buddha is telling. And they tried to change his mind, but he was not ready to accept it. Then what happened was, that monk was asked to come in front of the Buddha. And then Buddha asked from that particular monk, is it true that you are having such a kind of a wrong view? Then Sati admitted that he has such a view. Then Buddha asked, when did I mention something like that? Then he couldn't answer that question, and he was silent. Venerable Sati was silent. Then Buddha wanted to see whether the other monks have such wrong view, or whether the other monks have the clear understanding about what he is talking, about his teaching. Therefore, Buddha went on for a fairly comprehensive teaching, starting from the say 4 elements, or whatever the phenomena which is coming into being due to causes. And Buddha is asking whether the monks are able to really see these things. It is not that we are seeing through the naked eyes with the conventional form, like we are seeing the monks, the nuns, the Jetanarama, if you are talking in that terms, on those days terms, or the various gardens, the kings, queens. Buddha is not asking whether you can see these things. What he is asking is, those are just the conventional realities, conventional forms, but more than that, penetrating that, there is really cause and effect related phenomena arising and passing away. It can only be understood through the practice. And Buddha is very critical about it and asking from monks whether these monks really seen it, whether they really observed them through the practice. And Buddha once asked, they say yes. So through the practice they have understood it. Then Buddha further explains that they are appearing due to causes. It is not that they, whatever the matter, whatever the forms, cannot come into being just merely by itself. It needs fair amount of causes. Because of the causes only, the various phenomena comes into being. So likewise, Buddha go a little deeper and deeper and touching some deep aspects of his Dhamma. So he then going to talk about 4 nutriments. 4 nutriments are another deeper subject in his teaching, and he tells that all this going on and on in the samsara rebirth cycle is occurring due to 4 nutriments. So this is something that we can think of, or we can ponder, because we sometimes think when it calls food, when it calls nutriments, we simply think that it is just the edible food. That is also one part that Buddha is explaining. So that's what in the title, what I have explained, I have taken from the very Sutta, Chattaro me bhikkhave ahara. So there are amongst 4 types of nutriments available. 4 foods are available. Bhutanang va sattanang titiya. And for the beings who have already arisen, who are already living, for them to maintain, to sustain their bodies, so this 4 categories of food is necessary. Not only that, sambhave sinang va anuggahaya. Even for the beings who are coming into being, who are just preparing, who are in the wombs of the parents, mothers. So even for them, these types of food is necessary. For their growth, this food is necessary. And what are those 4? And Buddha is telling, kabarinkaro aharo olariko va sukumova. That's something that we can easily understand. Kabalinkaro aharo, the edible food. So we can understand, okay, rice, curries, all the varieties of food. So that is one type. Either it may be delicious or maybe gross, not so delicious, but any kind of edible food. That is one type of nutriment. That is necessary. So if one says that this prepares or creates some kind of defilements in my mind, so I should avoid food, so then you are taking kind of an extreme. Buddha acknowledges that this edible food is a necessary part of in our lives. So we can't avoid food. We need to have food. And even Buddha himself practiced certain sort of avoidance of food before his enlightenment. You all can remember that before his enlightenment, for 6 long years, he was practicing various kind of strenuous, austere practices. One of them was to avoid eating. Sometimes he was just going one time for Pindapata and just collecting some little food and maintaining his body from that. Later he has even given up that. And he was thinking, okay, whatever the fruits and whatever things coming closer to me, I am just maintaining my body from that. So that he has gone to another extreme. And later he was thinking even to cut it off. And even he think, okay, just merely using a kind of a, say, one seed, one rice seed, one kind of mustard seed. So likewise, very little amount of food he tried. And then his whole body become lean and lean. He was fainted. So he went through fair amount of suffering. almost reached the death, and even certain deities suspected that the Buddha to be has passed away. So he has come to that extreme. And later then he understood that this is not the path. This is a wrong path. So then he has given it up and started to get moderate amount of food. And he admonished that path. He is telling us, okay, take the moderate amount of food, necessary amount of food. Not overeating and not avoiding food. So don't go to the extremes, just go for the moderate amount of food. And that is the first type of food that he is talking. The second type of food is the passo dutiyo, the contact. So in the contact type of food, so we all know, so we can't simply keep our eyes open or we can't keep our eyes just closed. We want to see certain things. We are interested of seeing. As human beings in the human realm, so we are very interested of seeing various things. We go for cinemas, we take televisions to at our home, we are looking at movies there, maybe teledramas, various sports, games, various things. Unbelievable kind of things. Now we are enjoying our eye contact. Similarly, we are enjoying our ear contact. On the good old days, we didn't have very sophisticated facilities, but nowadays it is overwhelming. We have variety of facilities to pump various kind of music to our ears. We have various types, various styles, rock music, pop music, variety of things are there. Then many singers and unbelievable kind of musics available. So we are very interested of filling our ears with various sounds. So we can't close our ears, even though we can close our eyes. We can't close our ears. So whenever till we have ears, we are very vulnerable to various kinds of sounds. So through the ear contact, we are now getting food. Then through the nose contact, so we are open to various kind of smells, odors. Either it may be pleasant or unpleasant. So we are going for various kind of pleasant odors, trying our best to avoid various unpleasant odors. So anyway, we are through this nose contact, nose door, we are getting various kinds of food. Then through the tongue, again we are tasting variety of food, variety of tastes, and continuously we are using this tongue contact as well. Again the body contact. So we hope to have various luxuries, maybe our loved ones, and variety of ways we are trying to have this tangible sensations. Through that we are having this touch sensations, the body contact. Again, if we can't have any of these five, kind of gross five, mentally we keep thinking on, and we keep occupied our minds. So the mind also fairly occupied, the mind contact. On these 6 ways, we are constantly being bombarded in a way. So these are the ways that we are taking another type of food. And Buddha refer it as passo dutiyo. The second is the passa, the contact. The third one is the mano sanchetana. That is the kind of the formations, various kind of fabrications. So we can't simply accept various things coming to our eyes, ears, tongue, nose, body, or to the mind as it is. We do various alterations. We do various fabrications, various changes. And we do these changes, and it is creating fair amount of karma, fair amount of potential to bear fruits in the future. That's another very heavy subject, and I believe that we touched that in a fair, comprehensive manner during the last month. So today we need to touch the last topic, last category of the nutriments, that is the consciousness. Viññāno viññānam tatuttam. So how consciousness itself can be a food? So this is even further difficult to understand. I mean, I feel it is fair enough to tell all of us can understand that the edible food is kind of a food. It's easy to understand. Again, when it comes to the second type, second category, the contact, that's also we can think rationally and understand. Okay, when we are looking at certain pictures, looking at certain scenes, so we are in a way taking some kind of delight, kind of happiness by allowing those objects or allowing those sights to come inside. So in a way it's kind of taking food. So we can rationally think about it and can understand it. So when it comes to the third category, it's a little difficult. So Buddha is taking us more and more subtle states. So when it comes to the third stage, it's even little difficult to understand how we create kind of volitional formations as a food. So we can't simply sit quietly. So we want to do something. Unlike in the good old days, nowadays people are very keen on doing something. They can't just be. They can't just sit quietly. They want to do something. So when we are telling, okay, you just sit comfortably, cross-legged, keeping your hands together, and if possible, just look at the breath. So it's very difficult to keep our mind to that simplicity. We are great thinkers in that sense. Our minds are going on, and we are really feeling like tortured just by sitting. It's very boring. So we may be interested in going to a movie, maybe looking at another scene, maybe talking to someone, maybe writing an email, maybe playing a game, whatever things. We want to do something. So this doing, just involving ourselves with something outside. So it's a kind of occupying ourselves. So that is how it becomes a kind of a food. So we can't simply sit still. Even if we sit still, we can't keep our mind still. Mind is keep on wandering, keep on going to this and that. So because our mind is trained to think, trained to take variety of objects, mental objects. So it can't sit or stay quiet. Mind can't stay at home. It can't stay still. It's jumping from this to that. So we can understand. So there's a kind of a thing. Still I can't understand, but still there is something to think about. Buddha is talking something deep. The third, Mano Sanchetana Tatiyo. The third type of nutriment is nothing but these volitional formations. And the bad thing about it is, even though it appears like subtle, it may have some repercussions. It may have some bad consequences because it generates some karma which will bear fruits in the future. And the last is the consciousness, the viññāna. So how it becomes a type of food. So Buddha giving a kind of a simile. Let's go into that simile. So Buddha says, suppose there's a thief. So at that time, so when a thief is taken in front of the king can give any kind of punishment to that thief. Suppose this thief is a really notorious one. Anyway, he was being caught and taken in front of the king. And those guards are now asking, Your Majesty, now this is a thief. We have caught him. So please give any kind of punishment to him. Okay, then the king is ordering, punish this thief with 100 types of spear attacks. So in those days, the spears being used to hit the person. So even one shot is enough to kill the person. It is so painful, so piercing the body. But the king is asking to give 100 spear attacks to this particular thief. Okay, now the guards are taking that thief to a particular place, and in the morning he was given 100 attacks of the spear attacks. So then in the noon they come and report to the king, as your majesty has ordered us, so we have punished that particular thief with 100 spear attacks, 100 spear shots. Then the king asks, is he still alive? Then the guards are telling, yes, he is still alive. Then the king orders for the second time, then attack him another 100. So the noon time also another 100 is given. So then evening also the soldiers are coming, the guards are coming and reporting to the king that they have done the thing, and they are reporting to the king that your majesty, that we have punished that thief with 100 another spear attacks. Then the king asks, is he still alive? Then they say, yes, he is still alive. And then king for the third time ordering to give another 100. And Buddha is telling to understand the type of nutriment, the consciousness nutriment as such. So the simile itself is difficult to understand. So because Buddha is giving in a way halfway like information, so just understand the nutriment consciousness is like attacking a thief with 100 or 300 altogether, with 300 spear attacks. And then he is asking from monks, what do you think? Is 300 spear attacks painful? So then monks telling, Bhante, even one is extremely painful. Even it can kill the person. So how about what to speak about 300? Then Buddha is saying, monks, understand the consciousness food, consciousness nutriment is something like that. So in a way, it's a kind of a puzzle. Then Buddha says, if one understands nutriment consciousness properly, then he will understand name and form, nama rupa properly, comprehensively. And what would be the result? If he totally understood consciousness nutriment, he will be an arahant. So you can see the depth. So here we are, even though we are talking briefly, in abstract form, the result, if someone can understand the consciousness nutriment fully, Buddha says he will then understand the name and form fully. If he understands both of these, he will become an arahant. So you can see what a depth of this teaching taking us. So let us now try to understand the consciousness nutriment. So let me take another sutta to explain you how our minds are working. There's another sutta called Atthiraga Sutta, which comes in Sangyukta Nikaya, Nidana Sangyukta, where Buddha is talking about various causes. And he says, till one has craving, till one has lust, till one delights in 4 types of food, 4 types of nutriment, then the consciousness will find footing. So let's clarify this statement. Suppose you have some craving, you are greedy of food, the typical edible food. So while you are eating, say while you are going to a party, you are going to a wedding or whatever the feast, and you are getting all the variety of food which you really like. Maybe ice cream, maybe pudding, variety of all the types of food are available. If you like Chinese food, it's there. If you like Italian food, it is there. Whatever the varieties are there. And you are enjoying. What do you think? And Buddha says, till you have that craving, till you are enjoying it, till you find delight in that edible food, your consciousness will find footing. Your consciousness will be well established. So if you little go to clarify it, suppose now you are taking a really delicious chocolate to your mouth. Now it is on your tongue. Now you are tasting it little by little. What do you think? Now all the your senses are active. You are enjoying it. You are fully in it. So you can't remember where you are. So you are fully enjoying it. So Buddha says, when you are doing like that, when you are enjoying food, edible food, like that, the consciousness find footing. The consciousness well established. And what happens if the consciousness well established? Then Buddha says, the name and form also will descend. The name and form also will find its place. What happens if name and form find its place? Then the variety of formations, variety of intentions, volitional formations. Now you are thinking, you are enjoying, you are telling to others, you hope to have it on the next day. You are dreaming about next party, dreaming about next wedding, whatever the thing. So like that, now you are in a fully action, full enjoyment type of world. So you can't remember where you are, you can't remember your posture, you can't remember who you are, who is around you, whatever thing, but you are in a different kind of world. Even to that level, our mind is fully involved in it, obsessed in it, indulged in it. So I am making it a little bit gross so that you can understand. So this way we can see, till we have lust, as Buddha says, till we have lust, till we have craving, till we are delight in edible food, Buddha says the consciousness will find footing. So when the consciousness finds its footing, when it is well established, the name and form also come into being. When the name and form come into being, then various formations, various fabrications will happen. When various fabrications will happen, then accordingly the next birth will also happen. So this life is continuing now, going on and on. So similarly Buddha talks about contact. Whenever the nutriment contact is there, when you delight in it, when you have lust on it, when you have craving for them, then again the consciousness find its footing. When the consciousness find its footing, then the name and form come into being. When the name and form is there, variety of formations, fabrications will happen. Accordingly, you will be reborn. Similarly, when you are fond of doing something, you can't just stay still. You want to do something. Mentally you are thinking. You may be involved with volitional activities, either good or bad, through the body, through the verbs, verbally, or even through the mind. Anyway, whenever you are doing this kind of activities, when you are fond of doing these things, you find delight in doing many things, then the consciousness will very well establish. When the consciousness very well established, then the name and form comes into being. It is also find its footing. If that is coming to being, then the variety of fabrications, creations, preparations will happen. Accordingly, the next birth will happen. Similarly, Buddha says, if you are delight in the consciousness food. Similarly, the name and form will establish. Then the fabrications, preparations, formations, volitional activities will happen. Accordingly, the next birth will happen. So I didn't explain that consciousness nutriment because I am going to explain it again. Now you can see, whenever we are delight in any of these food, whenever we have some kind of craving for any of these food, that ultimately will prepare our next birth. So Buddha is giving another simile, in kind of very profound, very beautiful simile in this same Attiraga Sutta. Now he is asking from monks. Suppose monks, there is a high-rise building is available. It has 4 walls facing 4 directions. You know, one wall is there facing eastern direction. Another wall is there facing west. Another wall is there facing north. Another wall is there facing south. So altogether 4 walls facing each direction. And again each wall has a window. So Buddha is asking, in the morning when the sun is rising, now the sun rays are coming from eastern wall through the eastern window. So Buddha is asking from monks, where is this sunbeam going to collide, going to establish? What do you think? In the west wall, because now it is coming from the eastern window, from the eastern side, of course in the morning when the sun rises, and it will come and hit the western wall. And then Buddha asks, suppose there is no western wall, where is this particular sunbeam going to establish, find its footing? On the earth. Okay, because if there is no wall, then ultimately it will go and find the footing on the earth. Then monks are answering, okay Bhante, if the wall is not present, that particular beam of light will come and hit on the earth. Then Buddha further asks, if there is no earth, if suppose you are somehow taking away the entire layer of earth, where is it going to establish? So monks are telling, typically the earth layer, the solid layer is available or floating very much like on the water layer, water world. So that is even according to the modern day science, that there's a water sphere. On top of the water sphere, that the other variety of other spheres, the solid sphere is available. Now if the solid sphere is not available, earth, that part is rough part, gross part is not available, then monks are telling, then it will establish on the water. Then Buddha does not stop there. Buddha is asking, even if no water is there, when this sunbeam going to establish? Then the monks say, Bhante, there is no place to establish. It will not be established. It does not find its footing. Now can you think about something similar about our consciousness? Let's take another simile. Now let's come into a cinema. So I hope you all have gone to cinema. Think about a traditional cinema hall. You are going to a traditional cinema hall. There's a very clean white color screen available. Very large screen available, white color. And before the movie starts, everywhere the whole windows are closed, all doors are closed. Now can you see the screen? I mean, if it's ideal situation, we can't even see the screen because it is completely dark, pitch dark. Even then we can't see even the screen. Then how are we going to see the screen? when the projector projects some light, that is the movie. When it is projecting light onto the screen also visible, the movie also visible. Can you map these two now? Because of the movie, because of the light rays, screen comes to being. Screen is now, it is visible. We can understand there was a screen. Onto this screen, this light rays, the projection or the cinema being projected, the movie being projected. Of course, during the cinema, while we are watching it, we are lost. We can't understand this mechanism because we are fully deluded. But reality, if we are taking it a little bit advanced, that is what happening. When the movie being played, so all the light rays, all the celluloid being projected to the screen. If there is no screen, so then there is, so this movie can't show, movie can't play. So that's why it's necessary to have a screen. So that is where Buddha is taking us in that previous sutta. So if there is no place to establish, then you can't find a movie. You can't find name and form. So if you consider this cinema simile, you can see in order for the activation of the screen, in order for its real participation, the movie is also necessary. The projection, the light projection also necessary. For the movie to appear, the screen also necessary. You can see some kind of interdependence is there between the movie, the light projection and the screen. Without the screen, movie can't be played. Without the movie, we can't see the screen, no use of screen. So there is a kind of a interrelation between these two. Similarly, the same effect is available in our mind. When the consciousness is there, only if some kind of name and form available, only the visibility, the activation, the participation of consciousness happen. For example, when you are looking at something, suppose you are really delight in it. So you are in the consciousness, kind of an image of that scene being projected. So that is the very, very internally what is happening. It is not that sight being immediately coming inside, but through your eyedor, kind of rays are going, and ultimately some biological mechanism going on, and ultimately the picture being projected in the mind, and it is what we call according to Dhamma, it is called name and form, Nama Rupa. So the Nama Rupa to establish the consciousness screen is necessary. It is like a screen, we can say. Similarly, when we tasting something, the taste generates some kind of a perception, some kind of a sign, and that is the Nama Rupa at that time. And accordingly the consciousness also coming to being. Similarly, when we hear something, the sound generates some kind of a perception, some kind of a feeling, some kind of a sign. And it is the Nama Rupa, and it is being projected on the consciousness. So likewise, this name and form has kind of an interrelationship. So this, in a way, is the crux of the teaching, we can say. And Buddha says, this is the very depth that the wisdom can penetrate. So you can see in another sutta called Maha Sutta, Buddha says the wisdom can penetrate only this much, where the interrelationship between name and form and consciousness, Vijnana Nama Rupa. And this is how all the languages coming to being, all the conventions coming to being, all the designations coming to being, all these variety of conventions coming to being just in between this name and form and consciousness. And concepts, birth, death, decay, rebirth, all is due to this consciousness and name and form. And this wisdom also penetrates up to this. So you can understand, if one coming to this kind of understanding, even rationally, it takes some kind of different kind of looking at things. Because so far we may be thinking we are really seeing things. When we see things, suppose when I am seeing this TV, when you are seeing this screen, so I may interpret as I am seeing the screen, or I am seeing the TV. When I am looking at the fan, I can interpret, I can tell conventionally I am looking at the fan. But internally what is happening? Something deeper happening internally. So is it lust, is it craving, is it delight happens to the fan, or is delight happen to this name and form which is generated by this conventional fan? So these are kind of a puzzle type of questions. So Buddha says, so we have the real craving at internally. So we are trying to find solutions outside, but the question, this problem is inside. The consciousness and the name and form is inside, it is not outside. The name and form come into being, come into operation due to various other stimuli available from outside, but the problem happens inside. Then one deity comes and asks a beautiful question from the Buddha, which comes in Sarasutta in Devata Sangyutta Nikaya. He is asking the question in a way, in a verse, Kuto sara nivattanti katta vattang navattati katta namancha rupancha asesang uparujjati. So this deity is fairly advanced. So he is asking the question to the very point. He understood that this name and form is giving a real trouble. It should be the answer. So he is asking, Kuto sara nivattanti katta vattang navattati. So where these all defiled kind of streams stop? Where the whirlpool no more whirls? Kattanamancha rupancha asesang uparujjati. Where this name and form stop without any remainder. So he's asking the very question. Then Buddha answers that Yatta apocha patavi tejo vayo nagadati ato sarani vattanti etta vattang navattati etta namancha rupancha asesang uparujjati. Suppose there is a situation, then it's easy to understand that suppose there is a situation, possibility, there apo patavi tejo vayo nagadati. You know the four elements, earth element, fire element, water element, air element, they may not find their footing, or they may not be explained, or they are fairly prevented. Their signs do not appear. I'll explain that later. Ato sara nivattanti etta vattang navattati. If such possibility is there, then at that possibility, that whirlpool does not operate. And there that all defiled streams will stop. Etta namancha rupancha asesang uparujjati. At that particular state, this nama rupa will not find its footing, it does not establish, or it does not manifest, and it is completely avoided. So Buddha is giving kind of a solution. So if such possibility is there, The solution for the whole samsara is available. If there is a possibility of avoiding the signs of all Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. Now think about your mind. If you think about your mind, from what is it filled with? So maybe your mind maybe think about your husband, maybe about your wife, about your mother, about your father, about your children, about your house, about your working place, maybe about Kalalgoda. So all are signs of what? Of these physical things, this bhuta, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. If it comes to the very abstract form, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, nothing else. But they have made a real damage in our mind, because our minds are very occupied with these shadows of the four elements. If you just look at your mind and check your mind, what are the signs, various kind of images going on in your mind? Maybe about your children, maybe about your parents, maybe about your, as I explained, various signs are there. Maybe beautiful ones, maybe ugly ones, maybe happyful ones, pleasurable ones, maybe painful ones. All are signs are going on. So if there is a possibility that just to avoid them, just to have a clean mind without any signs, then again, if such is possible, Buddha says, then at that state, Nama and Rupa, the name and form, will be completely eliminated. So, what do you think? At that time, according to Buddha, the typical consciousness, that well-established consciousness is no more. Because the well-established consciousness to be available, the Nama Rupa has to be there. As I said, for the screen to be available, the movie has to be available. There's an interdependence. If the movie is not there, no light is available, the presence of consciousness, such kind of discriminative consciousness, established consciousness, no more, not available. But does that mean the person is dead? Then you can map according to that previous simile. That is the simile of the sunbeam. When the wall is not there, is the sunbeam not available? Still sunbeam available. When the earth is not there, sunbeam not available, or is it available? It's available. When the water is not there, it may not establish anywhere, but still the sunbeam is available. So understand that. So there's a possibility of consciousness which is not established. So what is then nutriment consciousness? Suppose some person is there, we'll call him an arahant. In that arahant, there is suppose no established consciousness. How about ourselves? Suppose there's a possibility, there is no established consciousness. And now we are introducing we'll introduce to that same simile. Now if we are unestablished consciousness there, sunbeam is coming, suppose we are introducing the water. Now it is going to establish on water. Suppose we are introducing earth. Now it is going to establish on earth. Suppose we are putting the wall. Now it will establish on the wall. So, on the arahant's mind, so what Buddha says, he is not interested of this establishing consciousness. Why? He has no craving. He has no lust. He is not find delight in this established consciousness. fairly deep Dhamma. But it's really beautiful if you can understand. Because you can see how the mind of an Arahant. So, how about ourselves? We keep on occupying our minds. Even if our mind, even for a few minutes not occupied, we get afraid. We want to think something. We want to look at something. We want to occupy our mind with various thoughts. If it appears like blank, are we happy or are we afraid? Are we feeling like we are going to be mad, going to be crazy? So then what will happen according to the Buddha's teaching or according to his practice? Is our mind going to be established? Is our consciousness going to be established or ultimately not going to be established? If we are going in the correct path, so then it has to lead in that direction. Right now, suppose our minds are fully occupied. Constantly different signs are coming to the mind. So understand our mind is really being bombarded, being pierced by 300 spear strikes. Can you come to that simile Buddha is telling? Each day 300 spear strikes, 300 spear attacks to the mind. What? From what? From the Nama Rupa. So like that thief, even one is enough to damage or kill the thief, but constantly 300. Similarly, suppose there's a kind of very pure form of consciousness available. For that, we are constantly attacking, putting various things. We can't keep that quiet. We can't keep that still. We can't maintain that pure. We are constantly defiling it, constantly damaging it, constantly attacking it, constantly polluting it. For on the other hand, the Arahant, so he is still living. His consciousness is there. Like the sunbeam is available, even though no earth, no wall, no water, still the consciousness is there. He's living as a fully fleshed being. But no lust, no craving, no delight, finding various foods. So he's, in a way, have no friction. So this is kind of a teaching that Buddha is giving according to this consciousness nutriment. It's fairly deep, but unknowingly we are enjoying this type of food. Unknowingly we are constantly enjoying this nutriment. So in your meditation, if some kind of a blank state, kind of an empty state, kind of a state where you can't find space and time mapping, if something happen, so it's a little closer to that state where the mind is not established, consciousness is not established. So we'll talk that tomorrow, how one can reach such state. And today I want to cover the theoretical aspects. So Buddha's teaching taking us to this clarity of mind, taking us to eliminate these various signs appear in our mind. It's a kind of a cleansing process. So if our minds are fully occupied, constantly bombarded with various things, fully corrupted, fully polluted, then remember we are far away from Nibbana. If our minds are fairly cleansed, fairly neat in a way, fairly clean, still fully mindful, fully conscious, then we are closer to Nibbana. But it appears like boring. Because nothing is there. So we'll touch that aspect, how one can reach such a state through the practice. So what is the Buddha's practical solution to come into this stage? So according to Buddha, if one can understand this consciousness nutriment, then he will fully understand name and form. If that happens completely, then he will become an arahant. So with that final note, I will wind up today's Dhamma sermon. So thank you very much for listening. So as usual, at the end of the sermon, we share our merits. So throughout the day, we all accumulated various merits. So we all establish ourselves in morality, and again did walking meditation, sitting meditation, and participated to a Dhamma discussion and heard the Dhamma sermon. So with these various ways, we are able to accumulate a lot of merits. So let's share these merits with all the past day relatives. We share these merits with all the beings who are in need of merits, and again all the celestial beings who are like to delight or rejoice in these merits. And again we'll wish ourselves also to understand these beautiful Dhamma, these undefiled states of the mind, to this profound teaching of the Buddha. While keeping these good wishes in our mind, let's recite the traditional verses. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha cha bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu sasanang. Akasattha cha bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu desanang. Akasattha cha bummattha devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu mamparang. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idang vo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.